I now call to order the City of Cottonwood Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting, Monday, December 15, 2025 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Camella?
Present.
Commissioner Glasscott?
Present.
Commissioner Hellman?
Present.
Vice Chairman Rothrock?
Here.
And Chairwoman Maston.
Present. Thank you very much. Our first order of business this evening is approving the minutes from the meeting held Monday, November 17, 2025. Do any of the commissioners present have any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Nope.
Do either of the commissioners on Zoom have corrections or additions to the minutes?
No.
No.
Thank you. I move to approve the November 17, 2025 minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimously carried. Our next order of business are informational reports and updates from our staff.
Good evening. Sorry for the delay on that. I just wanted to remind everybody that the January regular meeting is scheduled for January 26th at 6 p.m. Also, there is still one seat open for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And lastly, just to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Next up, we are beginning with the call to the public this evening. If there is anyone here from the public who would like to address the commission on any planning and zoning related item that's not on the agenda this evening, now is your opportunity to come forward. If you would like to speak, you must fill out one of the forms located in the back by the door. They're on a little brown table. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes each. If there's anyone who would like to come forward, please come forward now. All right, no one is coming forward, so I am closing the floor to the public and we're moving on. We are beginning, our first agenda item is old business, DR-25-018. This is a modification of DR 24005, previously approved in May of this past year, a request for modified design review for a 15-unit apartment complex at 1416 East Mingus Avenue. Please take it away, Tina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commission, I'm Tina Hayden with Community Development, presenting on that modified design review project that we had brought to you last year. So the request tonight is modification changes to the design of the roof and windows of the building. This item here missed the boat of deletion when we copied and paste, so ignore that CUP portion. Tonight we ask that you consider the applicant's submittal and the staff report with recommended stipulations. This project is located in our R3 zoning district, allows for multifamily residential, permitted for 15 units, has 27 parking spaces on 0.56 acres. We'll note that it is adjacent to the R3 zoning. I did indicate in the staff report that at the time that this project was approved, we did not have any height stipulations when adjacent to single-family residential. And since then, I took another look at the code because we did adopt some height restrictions adjacent to lot lines. And the verbiage indicates that we only manage that height when adjacent to R1 single-family residential zoning. So because this is similar R3 zoning, height restrictions are not imposed on this project. I have an elevation for you to view, and then I do have a series of, first revision, second rendition for you to take a look at. They're really just modifying the windows, doors, balconies, and that roof line. And as far as the height, we calculated it. I think it's changing by a matter of inches to at least 1 foot, so it's not exceeding our height maximums. So the top is the previously approved design. The bottom is the new proposed design here. You can tell that they're changing the windows, making them smaller. They've enlarged the balcony areas, and then they have that gabled roof with shed roof design mashup there for you to see. I'd also like to point out that this new design does have some additional plantings. It was stipulated by the commission last time that they do provide some additional screening for this stairwell, and this is what they proposed for that. And some additional renderings. This is the north elevation and the east elevation here. And if the commission desires to approve this modification, staff does recommend 6 stipulations. I won't go read them verbatim. They're indicated in the staff report. The first one is that the project just adhere to what was approved at the May 20th meeting last year, and then what's subsequently approved at tonight's meeting. Second stipulation is it still adheres to our code review comment letter. Third stipulation is it adheres to our zoning ordinance, including provisions of the R3 property development standards. Item number 4, still calling out for alley surface improvements unless there is demonstrated fire access that is approved by the fire marshal. Item number 5, this is where we extend the approval from May of last year. They get 24 months from tonight, if approved, to submit building permits and diligently pursue the project. And then the last one, I do have here that the applicant is required to install that vegetation or screening for that stairwell. That does conclude my presentation. I had informed the applicant that we would want them present for any questions you may have. At this point, I do not see them in our audience, but I am prepared to answer any questions you may have for staff.
Thank you very much. Do any of the commissioners have questions for city staff regarding this project?
Just one. Which way do in what direction are the front porches? Facing what direction?
Thank you for that, Commissioner Rothrock. Right here is Mingus Avenue, so they are facing south. There are, on the rear, on that north elevation, there are also porches or patios, balconies that are facing north as well. But this we would consider the frontage, the street frontage.
Right.
And so they're facing out directly onto the street. There are windows, as you can tell. This is the adjacent single-family residential property here. There are windows that are facing out eastward.
Thank you. I want to make sure that we include our Zoom participants. Commissioner Glasscott, do you have any questions for staff about the project?
No, I do not. Thanks.
Commissioner Hellman, any questions?
I have a question about the setback. Is it from the sidewalk or from the curb?
Thank you for that, Commissioner Hellman. The setbacks are measured from the property line. However, on the frontage, and I'll switch back, we do allow for the landscape yards to start from the interior edge of the sidewalk. In this case, I believe, based on their site plan, that the landscape yard and the property line align with that edge of the sidewalk.
Are there any other questions from the commission? I do have a couple questions. My first is really about the intent for this project. I think that this project could serve an important need. We need more workforce and especially more affordable housing in the community. And one of the things that the applicant does in their letter of intent is they mention that this is specifically intended to be workforce housing. And usually when people are talking about workforce housing, they're talking about affordability. And I wish that they were here because I would ask them, how are they defining those terms? does staff have any inkling into that?
Thank you, Chair Maston. I will say that in discussing this project, I want to say early February of last year, when they came to code review, we did inform them that we had a definition for affordable housing and asked them, does your project fit into that definition? They said, no, it does not. We do want to do more market rate, but we can, as staff, we do understand that market rate can be affordable, just not to people with lower incomes.
That's too bad.
My other question is about the screening. So I just want to be sure before I go down this road, and I'm trying to remember from May, we asked for some kind of a screen on that stairwell. Is that stairwell facing, which property edge is that?
Madam Chair,
Clarify for me.
this is the west elevation right here facing 14th Street.
Okay.
And so Mingus is off over to the right here.
One of the reasons why I specifically asked for vegetation there are a number of benefits to having a little bit of screening of that stairwell, but one of them is safety. If there is ever an accident where anything comes off the roadway, it would be a very good thing to have more between the apartments, which are fairly close to the edge of the property line, than just a relatively diminutive staircase. I also am a little bit worried about the elements on those stairs since there's not any kind of significant overhang. Again, if the applicant were here, I would ask them if they would do something about that, but because they are not, I feel like my hands are tied a bit. Would it be within the purview of the commission to request a more significant screen at this time? Is there a way that we could do that?
Thank you for that question, Madam Chair. I would actually look to our legal counsel to answer that question.
Is he on Zoom?
I'm trusting.
I am Chair, and Tina, I'm here. This is Mike Goodman. So reiterate, please, again, the reason for the desire for the change screen is something, I'll reposition that statement. Is the desire for the screening to be changed dependent on the proposed changes that they've brought forth tonight?
Yes, because the only change they've added for screening is a single tree. And a tree can fail, it can die, it can be very small. I would like to see something more significant in between the stairwell and the street.
And Tina, if you may, how appropriate was that screening under the prior plan?
Not.
Can you repeat that question or reiterate it? Sorry.
Yeah, that the report says that the screening's acceptable from the previously approved plans, but is it the same screening here in this picture that I'm looking at?
No, so the top is the previous design. On the bottom, they're now implementing that new tree. And then
Yeah.
I'm looking to the staff report to see.
It just says, in the staff report, I think I see the previously approved screening is considered adequate and the applicant does not indicate any changes.
Oh, that screening is for adjacent to residential properties. I'd refer you to the landscape plan, which indicates that the applicant is just proposing that to satisfy that stipulation from the previous approval.
Gotcha. Well, does the commission feel that that is appropriate or adequate screening? Is, I guess, the question for you, Chair, and whether you want to require any more would depend on whether that's adequate screening.
I would I would like there to be more, but I am open to feedback from my fellow commissioners. In some ways, I think a low wall would be the best thing. But I wish the applicant were here because I would be open to their ideas as well. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any feedback on this? And as always, you are free to disagree with me.
So even if they put a couple more boulders in there? I don't know how it's.
I recall last time we just said something like a tree or something just to screen from the street would be acceptable, if I recall.
Yeah, I kind of regret that as I look at it. It just doesn't feel adequate. And I know that when you look at renderings show a fully mature tree, but it wouldn't be for years.
Yeah.
But I don't hate Commissioner Camilla's idea of just a couple more boulders.
How far is that from the corner?
It's very close.
Yeah, so if someone comes, so if they, yeah. If you put a couple boulders in there, you see that a lot where, that's, if they're big enough, they're gonna stop a car or something.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, because tree may or may not go, and tree uses water, where a couple of boulders don't do that. What we're seeing here, what street is that facing? 14th Street?
14th Street, correct.
Yeah. Well, not as bad as it would be if it was facing Mingus Avenue.
Yeah, so here's Mingus, there's that stairwell in question, that new tree added there as opposed to that. So 14th Street's right over here.
It's a landscape plan change. This is a question for council. Can we specify that the applicant include, I don't want to be so specific as to say boulders, but some kind of barrier at that corner?
All right, Jared, to get my computer to unmute. So it sounds like the concern is safety there.
Yes.
And I know that our current screening is regarding being able to see it. But this is a question I have for Tina, then, is our screening entirely based on the aesthetics or being able to actually screen things from view, or do we have screening for safety?
When we're referring to screening, that's typically to block higher intensity uses. That's why for any multifamily residential, we require screening on the north and east lot lines when adjacent to single family residential. In this case, we're using the term screening, but really wanting to implement safety blocks from vehicle access.
Tina, if there's a better word, I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to specify a fence. I don't think it needs to be a fence, so.
So we're just, right now, we're wordsmithing a stipulation? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
So we can brainstorm here.
How about, hang on. Can you put the stipulations back up? It always helps me to see the language.
Okay, so I'll leave it here because we have item 6, and I'm guessing we want to modify this, or are we creating a whole new stipulation 7?
Unless the commission doesn't like, I actually kind of like both, but others may not like it, because I think having multiple things is good. I would add a 7.
Okay.
The applicant,
We can say safety measures
is
to prevent vehicle access.
Some type of obstacle to prevent impingement on the structure.
Barrier.
a barrier.
Well, it could even just be, excuse me, Chair, it could even just be landscape elements, right?
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the big concern? You're thinking cars are going to jump the curb?
Yeah, it's right at the corner. Like, it's
Okay.
right at the corner.
Yeah, it's pretty close too, looking at the map.
So what about those things, at your local gas station, those pipes or whatever, those posts?
Bollards?
Bollards.
Few bollards?
They could, I am open to them, I don't want to be too prescriptive. I think bollards could work. I also think just landscape elements could work. Commissioner Glasscott, I am open to specifying bollards, but I also think that we as a commission could be a little more open-ended for them, especially because they're not present.
Yeah, I like the landscape option better because it just gives them more choices and it'll be more appealing than the bollards.
Exactly.
So what I have so far is the applicant is required to implement barrier or landscape elements to protect,
Pedestrians.
protect what if I just put the corner at 14th and Mingus? We're workshopping, so it's free speech among the commission if you want to just jump in. I liked,
To deter vehicle
Impingement
encroachment.
onto the structure or
Yeah.
something.
to protect, to deter vehicle encroachment. Okay. Here's what I have. Number 7, the applicant is required to implement either a barrier or landscape elements to deter vehicle encroachment at the corner of 14th and Mingus. Does the commission approve of this stipulation?
Question, do we need 6 then at all?
We don't
Yeah, because
necessarily need
the
it.
tree was to avoid for people walking up the stairs.
Hide that.
Yeah, I think it's good to leave it. I think, and also, it's serving a secondary purpose.
Okay.
Chair, if I may, if we could change implement to install.
Yes. Thank you very much.
And, Chair, can we also add language to be approved by Community Development Director or
Yes.
planning staff, just so they don't have to come back to the commission for that change?
Absolutely.
Yeah, good call.
Is planning staff, that sounds more umbrella. Is that better?
I'm looking up to our attorney, planning staff or Community Development Director or designate.
I prefer the option of the community development director or designee, so that at least it's a specific person.
Thank you.
Okay, so community development director designee.
That's you, eh?
All right, let me read it one more time and see what the commission thinks. The applicant is required to install a barrier or landscape elements to deter vehicle encroachment at the corner of 14th and Mingus to be approved by the Community Development Director designee
Or designate.
or designee.
I approve.
Okay. At this point, because this is more complex, typically the vice chair makes the motions, but this one's gotten a little squirrely. I will go ahead and make the motion.
Thanks.
Do the commissioners have any further comments before we get to that point? Oh, and I almost forgot. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak regarding this proposed project? No one is coming forward regarding this project. So, I move to approve DR-25-018 to allow building modifications to the previously approved project DR-24-005, subject to the updated stipulations indicated in the staff report and the new stipulation 7. The applicant is required to install a barrier or landscape elements to deter vehicle encroachment at the corner of 14th and Mingus, to be approved by the Community Development Director or designee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously carried. We now have our item of new business for the evening. This is CUP-25-010, request for a conditional use permit to exceed the allowed maximum quantity and area of signs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tina Hayden with Community Development, presenting on this conditional use permit. The request tonight is to approve a conditional use permit for increased quantity and sign area. We ask that you consider the applicant's submittal, staff report with recommended stipulations, and staff recommended findings. This is essentially the breakdown of what they're requesting. What is allowed per code is a quantity of 2 signs with a maximum 200 square feet. They are proposing 4 additional signs with a max quantity of 350.5 square feet. That would be, so they would have a total of 6 signs with 350 square feet. The difference is 4 signs extra and 150 extra square feet. Some details here. It is light commercial C1 zoning, and it is within a larger shopping center here. We've got Safeway, some other various commercial uses there. Property is about 11 acres. They're asking for 6 signs. 4 would be placed on the building. 2 would be placed on individual monument signs, 1 in this general area, and then 1 on the Main Street frontage. So here is a site plan of where they're proposing to place their signage. On the monument signs, there are panels on either side, and so that is factored in. Typically, when we are approving sign plans, per monument, we only count it as 1 sign. So that's why we're not saying they're coming here for 8 signs, because we only count per monument 1 sign. So there are the monument signs here. 1 sign on the parapet, 2 signs affixed to the walls closer to eye level, and then another sign that is hanging with a 7-foot height clearance. And here you can see the main sign over here on the parapets as I described, 2 wall signs here, hanging sign here. This does demonstrate that 7-foot height clearance for that hanging sign. In order for the commission to approve a conditional use permit, they must make 3 findings. The first one is general findings, that the proposed use shall not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare. Applicant is asking for 4 signs to be affixed to the building, 2 signs to be affixed on existing monument signs. Staff does not expect any detriment to surrounding property or occupants. Regarding compatibility with surrounding uses, this shall be compatible with surrounding uses in the vicinity. All the surrounding properties are subject to the same zoning ordinance, and that they could also pursue a conditional use permit for additional signage. The additional signage and square footage is not expected to increase the intensity of activity. In fact, it's intended to assist with wayfinding and circulating through the parking lot. And lastly, traffic and circulation. The existing monument signs have been in place. There doesn't seem to be any perceived impacts to, adjacent traffic and circulation. There's no additional signage actually being proposed on those frontages. And then staff, again, doesn't expect any impacts to traffic and circulation. With the stipulations, in talking with the applicant, they did indicate that they may not be able to pursue this sign permit until October of next year. And so typically a conditional use permit is only good for 6 months from the date of approval. So I would request that the commission work to modify stipulation 4 to work in some kind of extension and/or add a stipulation 5 for that extension that would run in concurrence with the building permit. We've done it for recently the Circle K project that has yet to submit building permits or broken ground. They have a stipulation that runs concurrently with the building permit. But these are the 4 stipulations that we would recommend. The first is that the project is developed in conformance with what's approved tonight. Second, that it conforms to the Code Review Board comment letter. Thirdly, that it conforms to our zoning ordinance. And lastly, that it conforms to that time frame or be subject to revocation per Section 302. That concludes my presentation. I'm ready for any questions you have, and I do have the applicants here for this if you have any questions for them.
Great. Thank you so much, Tina. Does anyone on the commission have any questions for Tina regarding this project before we have the applicant answer questions?
How long is a building permit good till?
Sorry, that click.
Oh, how long is a building permit good for?
Typically, it is good for 6 months from the date of issuance. However, any request for inspections extends that another 6 months. And then the building official has the opportunity to decide if they are diligently pursuing the project, that they can extend it.
Okay. Thank you.
Question.
Yes, please go ahead, Vice Chair.
What's the height of the sign there at the back of the building or facing Cottonwood Street? Yeah. 2 feet.
Give me a moment while I look at this. I believe the top of parapet is 28 feet 10 inches with roughly 2 feet from the top of the parapet to the top of the Ross sign. I can also have the applicant further break this down. I'm sure they have more knowledge on every single dimension here.
Sure.
Commissioner Hellman, did you have any questions for staff about this project?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Commissioner Glasscott, any questions for Tina?
No, none either.
All right, thank you very much, Tina. At this time, if the applicant would come forward so that the commission can ask any questions. When you come forward, please introduce yourself into the microphone for the record, and then give us a very brief summary of the reason you're asking for the conditional use permit.
Hi, my name is Brian Wilden. I'm with Northern Arizona Signs, and I'm here representing our company in Federal Heath for Ross. They're asking, excuse me, basically to increase the square footage of the signage to have better visibility, to get that wayfinding, get the customers in, and just use up all of their sign area there to get that in. And then also the additional signs there on the side, I think, are for foot traffic, those breezeway signs underneath it. I think that it has that under canopy when you're walking across. I'm not perfectly familiar with this location, but that's the main reason that my customer's asking for that increased size.
Thank you very much. Do any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant?
Yeah. Why does it need to be 22 feet high? It's facing Cottonwood Street, and all that's across that street is homes. People's homes are going to have this ginormous sign flooding into their house at night.
Yeah, so I believe that the renderings were created based off of the sign area that's provided in that shopping complex. So there is some room looking at this rendering that you could probably reduce it or bring it down closer, but there is usually stipulations in the sign code, and I'm not sure 100% what those are. I'm not familiar with Cottonwood sign code. But generally, when we install signs, we particularly like to have them at that higher elevation for that visibility. I mean, that's a pretty standard practice, and I would assume that this sign in these renderings are along the lines with the other signs that are in the complex.
I don't think so.
Quick question.
Safeway, I mean, I'm pretty sure Safeway sign's pretty high up there.
I apologize for not catching this in the plans, but Are these lit or unlit?
They are illuminated.
They are illuminated? And they are falling, I assume, under our dark sky rules?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
they would all be into compliance for the lighting codes.
All right. Are there questions on Zoom, from the commissioners on Zoom for the applicant?
No.
No, I don't have any, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The commission is going to discuss.
Thank you, have a great night.
Thank you. Commissioners, did you have any thoughts that you wanted to share regarding this?
I think you answered the light, if it meets the light codes, then I'm good with that. That was my concern. I figured it would, and I looked through here, so if it meets the dark sky community, then, you know, I don't think it'll have that big of an effect on the neighborhood.
I have a quick question for staff. When you were putting together this packet, did you happen to compare the square footage with the immediate neighbor, Safeway?
Thank you for that, Chairwoman Maston. Unfortunately, we did not do a comparison study with nearby properties.
Thank you. Just wanted to ask. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak regarding this proposed project? All right, no one is coming forward at this time, so I'm going to close the floor to the public. Now is the commissioner's last opportunity to discuss this project prior to voting or ask further last-minute questions. Any comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner Hellman?
No comments, thank you.
Commissioner Glasscott?
No, I just think it'll be a good addition to that shopping center.
Commissioner Camilla?
It's, you know, it'd be nice, it's going to be nice to get something right back in there. I think I'd like to see that we put in, you know, I know that you can't get up till October, is if we could extend that so we don't have to go through this again, for, not only for us, I mean, we're going to be here, but for the applicant to have to redo that. So if we can word it somehow, we could extend that time frame concurrent with the permit, however that would work, if we've done that, if the city's done that in the past.
Vice Chair?
I have a lot of heartburn with a big sign like that on a street that's not as heavily traveled as Main Street, where you might not have a chance to see it as you're going down the street, but here you got plenty of time to see it. This is Ross Dress for Less. And also the folks who live across the street. I don't think it's necessary to have our signage in Cottonwood continually growing larger and larger. And that seems to be the trend, unfortunately, in my opinion.
Personally, I would probably agree with that, Vice Chair, and the only reason that I feel it may not be needed is just because of the size of the parking lot and how far back the buildings are from the edge, knowing that corridor where there's homes on one side that have a normal distance to the street, and then on the other side where there's the shopping center, there's that big lot. And then you have the stores that are tucked pretty far into it. And on the edge of that lot, there are a number of different, I was going to say vegetations, but that's not grammatically correct. There are trees and bushes, and there is, to bring up something we were just talking about a lot, screening in the traditional sense. So for that reason, I feel that this signage is appropriate because it is quite far back from the road. But I understand and I hear what you're saying, and I do think as a commission, it's really good to have somebody who is watching out for trends like that may affect residences. If that is everything that the commission wants to say on the record, we can now go to a vote. I do agree that we should adjust stipulation number 4. Typically that role goes to the vice chair, if you're comfortable with it. I know this is your first meeting in your official capacity.
Oh, number 4?
Tina, could you put stipulation number 4 on the screen for us? It's there at the bottom.
permanent sign, that one?
Yes, so what we would probably put is something along the lines of, a permanent sign permit of application must be submitted and diligently pursued within 6 months of this approval, or run concurrent with the building permit.
You want to put and/or? Because
Ooh, yeah.
if they get it done quicker, so then.
Yes, and/or. Commissioner Camiller is right.
Okay.
And then you would put the last sentence after that. So if this condition is not met, then case CUP. And so the way you say it is, I would like to make a motion, and then you make the motion as normal, or as it's specified. And then you say, with the modification of stipulation number 4, and then you read it into the record. So hang on. I always put it in my script. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We are doing a little bit of administrative work.
Yeah, thanks.
It's right here.
Oh, there it is.
So you would say this with the modification of stipulation number 4, and then read what we just talked about.
See this one here?
Yes, yeah.
All right, I'll take a crack at it.
Okay. We are ready to hear a motion.
I move to approve CUP 25-010 to allow the proposed sign package based on the findings and subject to the stipulations indicated in the staff report. A permanent,
With the modification of stipulation number 4.
I don't see that.
Oh, you have to add it.
With the modification of stipulation number 4.
And then you
A
read.
permanent sign permit application must be submitted and diligently pursued within 6 months of this approval, or,
And/or.
I didn't get to write all that out.
And/or run concurrent with the permit.
Okay. And/or run concurrent with the permit. If this condition is not met, then case number CUP-25-010 will be subject to section 302-G revocation.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Camilla. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Oh,
did you not go? Oh, all those against. I apologize. I apologize.
I'm not in favor. I'd like to see it.
Okay. Not unanimously carried. I miscounted. Vice Chair voted nay. Next up, we have one discussion item this evening. We are discussing potential changes to the City of Cottonwood zoning ordinance regarding design review. Oh, is that correct? Design review guidelines? Yes, it is. Just as a reminder, discussions are open. You can, if you are a commissioner, you can speak at will. It's more casual, and we will not be voting.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commission. I have a brief presentation. We recently went to City Council last week for a work session and brought this presentation to them regarding the changes that House Bill 2447 is requiring that we adopt an ordinance to authorize administrative review of projects based on objective standards. So we have, inform the Commission about House Bill 2447 and let them know that this menu of reviews is now required to be done administratively. We are working to do a text amendment. The League of Arizona Cities and Towns does advise that we establish objective design guidelines to aid in making those determinations. And really, we went to council and just wanted to update them, receive feedback, and answer questions. Staff also said that our intent is to develop guidelines that take the middle of ground approach, not too rigid, not too flexible. Council did also agree that that is what they would like to see. This is the anticipated timeline that we gave council. We had the work session last week. We're here to discuss. We were told that the ordinance becomes effective at the end of this year. There wasn't a actual time stipulation of when we need to enact these ordinances or design guidelines. And so our legal is saying that as long as we're acting in good faith, we should be compliant with state legislator. And so this is our anticipated timeline that we would turn around a design guidelines document for you guys to make a recommendation on January 26th, bring that to council in February, have it in effect in March. However, we understand that this can be a big document to digest, and so we have another timeline proposal for you, and that we bring it to the commission in January and February for round 1 and round 2, and then bring that to council in March and have it in effect in April. And so that is one item that, if you guys feel comfortable with just one public hearing, let us know, or if you feel more comfortable having more time to read through the document and kind of help fine tune it. Make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Really a lot of this is just what we sent to council. We wanted to create some objective standard types to use in this document, some yes, no, meets, does not meet options, counts and measures, and lists. So one of those would be, does it have this item, yes or no? That's easy enough for staff to make a determination. Is it exceeding the allowed heights? Yes or no? It's easy for staff on that determination. And this last one, the list, allows for some flexibility with design, and that we say, the project shall incorporate at least 3 of these elements. You can cherry pick what you want from this list. So I do have some examples. On the left here is what we currently have. They're very vague guidelines. And then on the right, the league has promoted Concord, California as having some good guidelines to look at. So this one regarding architectural details, we're just saying that currently we say it just shall be compatible. It's very subjective. City of Concord has that list, says that there should be a minimum 4 approaches, and has that listed out. Because really, this is compatible. You have about 5 storefronts there. They're very compatible with each other. But this is also compatible design, but you have some breakup, and you can kind of differentiate, some different storefronts there. Regarding proportion, this is not just in relationship to the width and height of the building, but also to the other components such as windows and doors. The league's example here, first they want to indicate that all building facades shall have entrances that face the street, but then they also go into that the lower floor of any mixed use shall have a 75% open-ish look. And then again, they give us that list option to help individualize the units there. Regarding fences, currently our code just says they shall not exceed 6 feet in height, and they shall be made of wood, chain link, or masonry materials. Here the league has an example, another list item allowing for some variation that we either have a change in the plane, we have some grill work, pilasters to help break up that monotony. And staff is currently working on the design guidelines, so this is a proposed strike through of what we could do in order to, regarding access. First, listing and referencing the general plan and the categories in there regarding street frontages, and just indicating that we can approve access points based on whether pedestrian and bicycle safety is called out or vehicle access is prioritized. Second, we're indicating either a parking study requirement or parking manual, some additional materials for staff to reference when determining those unlisted uses. And then lastly, trying to factor in affordable housing, allowing for parking reductions if the applicant is proposing X percentage of affordable housing units to the city here. Some considerations that we want to make sure that our design standards are clear, measurable, predictable, and easily applicable for stakeholders. We do not want to have monotonous cookie-cutter development. We want to allow for minor variances, deviations, that individuality. We do intend to provide graphics to make it easy to use. We also want to adhere to our general plan. Some items that they call out specifically for the neighborhood commercial is that we have low visibility parking lots and drive-throughs, that we're promoting that pedestrian and bicycle traffic, calling out for landscaping along corridors, and preserving our key natural resources. And this last slide, this is that rigid cookie-cutter development that we could have if we had very rigid standards. This is that very flexible, we've got design maverick, design anarchy here. We want to abstain from that. And this one, you can see that there's compatibility in color, massing, scale, and design elements, but they're each individual units. And that is what we're intending to achieve with our design guidelines. Now that does end my presentation. This is a discussion. If you have any questions for me, please call me up.
Why do you hate brutalism?
I don't necessarily hate it.
Teasing.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Again, just to reiterate, free talk. Talk over me. I know that this is a little bit tougher when we have commissioners on Zoom, but I would encourage the commissioners on Zoom to just start talking whenever you want, and we will try to respect that here in the room because it's easier for us than it is for you. Thoughts on this presentation, how these design guidelines are going?
I would say do round 1 and round 2.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot to digest, and, the public already, a lot of people are totally against this because they feel that they're losing their voice, because things are just going to go right to staff and everywhere in Arizona. So I think we give everybody the opportunity to digest this and work on it. I would say 2 would be good, and then shoot for that April date of, if that works legally.
Tina, the league that you were referring to, where you had the, what we got going now, and that was the League of Cities? It's Arizona. That's what I didn't see up there.
The League of Arizona Cities and Towns. The city frequently works with them, and they work with the city. They help represent municipalities, especially smaller municipalities, if you're unfamiliar with them. I also agree about doing 2 hearings. I think that this is such an important change that we need to have lots of opportunity for people to speak in the public, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen a comment on a newspaper story on planning change where somebody is saying, well, nobody knew about this because they hadn't had a chance to see the newspaper story yet. So maybe with the initial hearing, people will hear about it, and then the second hearing will be an opportunity for those people that missed it the first time. For what it's worth, oops, sorry, go ahead.
Going to what you just said there, that leads usually when it's in the paper, it's too late. So is there going to be some semblance of notification to the public since this is going to be in the hands of staff more so than going before a commission like ourselves?
Thank you for that, Commissioner Glascott. John, were you going to respond?
Thank you, Tina. You can probably respond as well as I can. I guess my answer is, I don't think so. If your question is, will there be public notice of the fact that staff is going to be making an administrative decision comparable to the notice that the public gets now when it comes before the commission? Is that the question?
Yeah, somewhat, because the public likes to involve themselves sometimes, and it seems like one of the other commissioners was also saying that the reason wanting to have 2 meetings is so they can voice their opinions or concerns
Sure.
of losing their ability to become involved.
Yeah, I think the city's position, of course, has always been that public input is good and it should be done at a public meeting, and I think that's why we've had the process that we've had for design review for so long. But the intent of the bill is, not only that it be done administratively, but the specific text of the bill requires it to be done administratively without a public hearing. And so the bill is intentionally requiring cities to reduce that public notice, public process, for the purpose, I think, of speeding things up.
And just as a reminder for anyone listening who may have be new to this, this is legislation at the state level that the city is responding to. So we are coming into compliance to state level legislation. This is not something that the city is doing independently. But these 2 hearings are an opportunity for people to voice their opinions, and I certainly hope that we get a lot of attendance and people take it seriously and read some of these changes, because as much as this can be frustrating, what can feel like a new change in the transparency level because things are going to be approved by staff, putting so much of what used to be design review into the code is actually incredibly transparent, because anyone can look up the code. And we have the opportunity to do this in a way that makes it fair for everyone if people speak out and share their ideas and opinions.
Yeah, there's possibly a lot of benefit in this, especially if we can make use of what the league has already put down for us.
Yeah, the suggested guidelines from the league, they are in the agenda packet. If anyone is watching this online, you can download the agenda packet on the City of Cottonwood website. It is public. You can access it yourself, and you can take a look at the League of Arizona Cities and Towns Guidance for Developing Objective Design Standards, and it can help inform you as well. They have good ideas in here. I think that the council's feedback is good. Is there anything else from council that we should be aware of on the commission?
Thank you for that, Madam Chair. They had asked if staff had any requests for direction to the commission. I drew a blank on anything to say. I think we're in a good spot, knowing that we want to do that middle ground. We're going to look to other jurisdictions and what the league recommends, so that we're doing a little bit of copying and pasting for our design guidelines with some Cottonwood fine-tuning at the end.
I think my one suggestion, if I had to give one, is when you look at this, maybe be thinking about, and this just ties back to our general plan, but be thinking about the different regions we have within Cottonwood, and especially the historic district in Old Town. And I know that we already have some special treatment there, but I think it would make sense to codify that further.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair. And with you saying that, I absolutely forgot that I intended to include a slide of the outline that we already have come up with, because I'd say we have a 10%.
There is some, yeah.
We have a 10% draft at the moment with our outline. We do call out for the Arts, Entertainment, and Culture District, Historic Preservation District, as well as residential, commercial, and industrial. So you'll definitely see that outline when we come back to you in January. I do apologize. I fully intended to have that available to you in this presentation.
Can we get that outline a little bit earlier than, will it be included in the packet? Because we don't get that till like Friday or Thursday. Can we get that outline earlier?
Thank you for that, Commissioner Camella. That was a question that council had asked at the work session about when we intended to have the item out. While the packet schedule is a little stringent with reviews, what we can do is look to have something posted, like a 80-90% draft posted online prior to that. So I think we're looking mid-January to have that, because the meeting's at the 26th, you know, towards the end. So we'll look to get, you know, a 80-90% draft out online for you guys to review.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you, because it's a lot to digest, so.
That would also be great for the public, because that gives them the opportunity that we have as well. I feel like we're in a little bit of a liminal space here.
I am ready to, Ava and I are ready to take it and run with it. And when I say 80 to 90, I mean percentages, if I didn't specify that.
Chair,
Yes.
if I may, just 2 points. One raised by Director Kutro here is that we want to make sure you know there will be a little bit of design review left to be done by the commission in the public process, which will be our historic properties and historic districts. And actually, I suppose I should say that's a decision up to you. I think staff is recommending that we keep those as part of the public hearing process. But that's one thing that you will have the opportunity to weigh in on if you believe that should also be administrative. That's something that could be done, but under the statute, we're not required to stop having public hearings for historic properties and historic districts. So that's something for you to mull about until, you know, as we work through this process. But I think at the staff level, we're kind of assuming that you might want to keep that in the public process. So that's what we're recommending. The other item is just from a sort of the perspective of a professional drafter, I guess, on model ordinances. I want to kind of, I think, emphasize what has been said already is the model ordinances are always drafted to be sort of the lowest common denominator, right? There are 92 members of the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. And the model ordinance is supposed to be something that's useful for everyone. So when it's drafted, it's intended to be customized, and I think among all the model ordinances, this is one. If you asked any member of the model ordinance drafting committee, they would tell you they expect to see a lot of customization. So I think, you know, what Ms. Hayden was describing is she was describing, you know, sure, copy paste, get an idea of the scope of the ordinance, some examples of maybe different methods that you could do of crafting an objective design standard, whether it's yes, no, whether it's multiple choice, those kinds of things. But what are the standards? I think the expectation is that the meat of the standards will be different here than it would be in Flagstaff or Glendale or wherever you might. So a lot of modification is expected. It's an opportunity for you to have real good input. So I just wanted to bring that up to kind of, you know, set expectations. You know, I don't think you should expect to get the league model ordinance, you know, with Cottonwood written on the top.
I think what I was commenting about was just the specificity in the in her slides in particular, where actually some of the league suggestions were more specific than some of Cottonwood's existing ordinance. And I think that one of the most lovely things about Cottonwood is how the municipality has gone out of its way to make development easy. But I think that as we stop having as public of a process, it's not that we're going to make development difficult, we just need to be more specific so that expectations are clear. But I love hearing that about the historic districts. I had not internalized that, and I think that the public will love that as well, because there is a lot of concern about the preservation of historic districts and buildings in Cottonwood. Any further discussion from the commission?
No.
If there's no further discussion, I am going to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I slowed down that time, to be sure. Sorry about that.
I thought you might have intuited where I was.